welcome to our webinar today. So stoked to have you all here. I'm Utkarsh, co-founder and CEO of SiteRecon. SiteRecon is a focused solution for commercial landscape maintenance that solves two problems. One, estimating. Second, client communications, so that we do some heavy lifting for you. You focus on providing exceptional service. But more importantly, today, I'm your host of this webinar. I'm going to represent you here, ask questions to Eric and Lisa, who've had this experience of starting on this journey, moving from residential maintenance to commercial maintenance. We're going to try to bring out that story for you. And honestly, I'm personally not making that transition, so would need your help to ask good questions. Use that Q&A button that you see on the Zoom toolbar to ask questions. If you have any comments, use the chat option, drop your comments in there. If your questions go with the flow of the webinar, we'll take them up as we go along. Otherwise, we'll take them up at the end. Let's get going. I'll share my screen and we'll kick this off in earnest. All right, so folks, this is for owners, business developers, branch managers who are running landscape maintenance businesses, snow removal, lawn care. This is not for folks who just have a design build company, because we're not going to talk about design build construction maintenance today. If you have that company and you're looking to move into commercial maintenance, this is for you. So for the next 60 minutes, please commit to focusing on what we are doing here, putting your phone on silent, not scrolling through Reels or Instagram, LinkedIn, and help us make this better. Once this is over, you will get a recording of the session. So don't worry about the specifics. You can always dig into that later. What we'll cover today, we'll talk about how to make that transition from commercial maintenance without wasting time figuring out pricing, hiring expensive consulting, making costly mistakes. And for that, we've got Eric and Lisa here with us today. Eric, Lisa, thank you so much for joining us.
Well, thanks for having us.
Thanks for having us. We're excited.
I appreciate it. Eric, so let's get into the Tennant landscape origin story. You started it as a teenager, right? Like what got you into it?
I liked money. I liked toys. I was 14 going door to door, cutting grass. And then my parents wanted me to go to college. So I decided I'd do it just to make them happy. I've never worked for anyone. I could not work for anyone. So I just went, graduated, and started doing interviews and decided I cannot work for someone. I was making more money doing this going through college. It just made no sense. So then I really concentrated on growing it and going from there. And then now made a lot of mistakes throughout over 25 years. I wish this technology that you're presenting was available back then, because I would have a lot more money in my pocket now.
But you have it now. So let's see where this gets you. So how much money you were making doing this while you were in college?
Oh, shoot. When I turned 16, I had a boat. So I was doing very well. I had all kinds of toys, dirt bikes, all kinds of stuff. I would say in college, I was probably making over 100,000 doing it. I had friends working for me, doing it every night and weekend. It was a grind for sure.
Love it. And at what point did Lisa join the business?
She joined probably even before we got married. So 2001.
Yeah.
So she was kind of helping on the side, and really she was more into technology and trying to keep up with times. I hate change. So she's the one that pushed me to constantly change and really care about seeing where we're winning, winning, making money, losing, all that stuff. So she pushes me into doing things that I really feel uncomfortable about change, trying new softwares. I hate computers. I hate technology, but this works.
Yeah, we've
Lisa.
definitely evolved. He was doing all of his schedules on like an Excel spreadsheet and like writing little check marks like if they paid or not. So it's definitely been a big improvement, but he's done well. Like he's kind of like the brains behind the operation and knows how things work. And then he kind of just tells me this is how I want it to look like on paper. And and just made things like a lot easier for him. But I would say, yeah, back in 2005, I think is when I went pretty much full time with him. So we were deciding to start a family too. So we were like, let's just go with it. So we did, and here we are, 20 years later.
Very cool, guys. Very cool. What's the business like right now in terms of the different services you do? What's the composition?
So we are 62% maintenance, 20% design build, 6% fertilizer, 9% irrigation, 3% snow. Obviously, snow varies, so that changes year to year. So far this year, it's excellent. We had 2 weeks of hell, but made a lot of money. So next year, these percent rates are probably going to change. And I'm hoping that we grow more maintenance because maintenance is easier to operate than design build.
100%. On that 62% that's maintenance, what's the split between residential and commercial?
Residential, I would say we're probably 90% residential, 10% commercial.
Okay, got you. And then in that commercial, for those commercial contracts, like how did you acquire that business?
Word of mouth, a lot of residential clients that were also running and operating commercial sites. They basically asked, hey, can you come give us a price, start taking care of our property, our building. So we picked up a lot of small residential or small commercial properties that way. We were never really going after it because we weren't able to really compete because gross profit margins. We were doing it very similar to how we operate our residential, where we have design crews that are just cutting grass. So I didn't really figure it out until I met with Fred, but you have to do like the weeding and all that stuff at the same time that you're doing the lawn mowing and do as many services at each stop instead of sending out a separate crew.
Yep, got 100%. So let me step back for a minute. You said maintenance is better than, construction. And then you and we were talking about it, like you have a preference for commercial over residential too. Can you briefly touch upon why commercial over residential?
Why I want to get into commercial, I want to get into it because design build is very hard to manage. It's hard to find good employees. There's a lot more that can go wrong. So I want to get into commercial. So I want to be 50-50 of each. I'm never giving up our residential because our residential, we get a lot of design build from that. But yeah, I want to be 50-50 just because now after meeting with Fred and realizing how easy it is to get these takeoffs and production rates now with Site Recon. Before we were going out measuring, so you get a big apartment complex, we would spend a full day measuring and just basically it was just time consuming. So when these big leads came in, we just ignored it because they always came in during our busy time and we just never had time to do it. And then we were outpricing ourselves because I would also see these contracts come in from other companies and they were probably 20% less, and I could never realize how they were doing it and how they could be making money until I reached out to Fred.
Makes sense. And so when you think about like doing 50% commercial, and you will almost have to acquire or like $1 million of commercial customers or even more than that, you don't see lead gen as the first bottleneck. It just seems like you see estimating as the first bottleneck in that process. Like if you don't have leads, you don't have the opportunity to estimate.
Yeah, we always have leads coming in. So we don't really have to chase them. I know that there's different ways that we were going to get into for this year to kind of go more to commercial. Fred gave us some options and stuff, but it took us a lot longer because when we started talking with Fred, it was February and it was February. And then
last year,
and then we started talking, and then it just took a while because it was still spring's our busy time. So I wasn't really able to concentrate on it until May. May's where we really started kicking it off, going in through production rates and building everything, getting it all set up. And then we really did not accomplish and get everything to work with our software because I wanted to sync directly with Boss. And that took, I mean, shoot, we didn't finish that until middle of November or December, where everything started communicating and it was perfect. So
Right.
it's not a simple push a button, especially because I think I took it to the next level because I'm kind of OCD.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, we had to rebuild like our entire basically catalog. I mean, we added new, we basically duplicated all of our services because, we have mainly residential services in our database and catalog for all of our production rates where we knew we weren't going to use these same services. So I mean, it was time consuming, but also very rewarding at the end because now, everything looks cleaner. Our estimates are cleaner, for training purposes internally. We know we use these services for commercial, use these services for residential. It's cut and dry. So we were really particular on how we wanted to do it. So we took our time, but it
Yeah.
was it was a learning process, but it's nice to have it all done now for sure.
yeah, and
Makes sense.
having
So
separate services and separate production rates for the commercial, when we do our reporting now, we know everything from when we went live with Site Recon, all our estimates are having all the takeoffs from Site Recon. So when we're looking back every year, I tweak our production rates. Residential, commercial, it's amazing how the more expensive mowers and technology and stuff like that that comes out, laborers and stuff still go slower and slower every year. It is just ridiculous. So we're constantly tweaking and looking at our production rates with, I mean, we're picking them apart. So I'm big at fixing stuff and not just constantly finding out where we're losing and where we're not making money and tweaking it. So that way we're not constantly just draining our profitable accounts with our bad accounts.
I hear you. So back when, so for context, everyone, we met Eric last year, sometime around these months last year. We did a webinar with Fred on an estimating masterclass. And after that, we did like a workshop with Eric and Lisa, and we discovered like they had this open problem in their mind that they wanted to set up commercial estimating systems internally so that they can scale that part of their business. And that's what being alluded to here, sorry. And Fred basically brought in that industry expertise of estimating a lot of sites, doing a lot of sales, and we sort of brought the technology in to enable that. But guys, like going into it, did you sort of know it's going to be that kind of a heavy lift? Did you imagine like you're going to fix all that, or like it sort of unraveled itself as you went along?
I thought it was going to be a lot quicker, a lot easier, but nothing's easy, especially if you're really getting into it and you want everything to work.
I knew it was going to be a little bit of a challenge just because I know, working with Eric over the last 20 years, I know he's very particular and very detail oriented. So it was a struggle figuring out, his vision versus like what our abilities were to use and integrate it with our software. And so know a little bit more about the behind the scenes with the software and what it can and can't do. And it can do a lot. It's just sometimes relaying that to him saying, okay, well, that's great, but we have to work it this way or that way. And you have to look at it basically starting from your service to putting it on the estimate and then how it's going to look for the crew and the ticketing per se, and then taking that ticketing to the invoicing. It has to all flow. So we kind of had to work backwards to make it clean, if that makes sense. So it was a little bit of it was a lot of, trial and error, but we got it. So
Yeah, and
Congratulations, guys.
at the very beginning, we tried, we had different mower sizes with one production rate. And I never saw that actually working. We tried it. Our estimates weren't accurate because if you're cutting a 10,000 square foot or 100,000 square foot, that's not a whole bunch of little islands or whatever, you're going to have different production rates. And then there's still some other areas where, having the multiple tiers like easy, medium, hards and stuff like that, it makes sense. It just works now.
Yeah, and a lot of that credit actually goes to Fred. He's been out there in the field doing time studies since, I don't know, 20 years across the country. So that good benchmark that comes out is, I think he had that level of detail that you were sort of hungry for, I guess. And that also enabled, I think, in some ways to build that confidence as you were looking at it, like, oh, this can work for us because it's detailed to a service item, little service items like 21-inch deck, 48-inch deck, and so on. And then easy, medium, hard. And then that can actually translate it into a ticket, like you were saying, Lisa, inside Boss.
Yeah, for sure.
So Tyler here asked a question. He's saying what invoicing job costing software you use. Tyler, that's Boss. Got a couple more questions. I'll just take them up quickly.
It's Boss LM. It
Boss LM,
is, it's great. Now that it's syncing with Site Recon, it was a struggle, but now everything is awesome.
Are the new production rates for the Moors costing out well? That's Todd's question.
Yes. So basically what we're doing, we are going through all our existing commercial accounts. I had Site Recon do all the measurements, and with Boss LM, we have very good detailed information for clocking in, clocking out on every job, adding materials, we job cost everything. So those reports, when we're putting these takeoffs in, we actually have real data and we're verifying some of these production rates. I say these production rates are great for a good starting point, depending on where you are. And, if you're in a warm climate, cold climate, stuff like that, you're going to have to tweak them because even shrub trimming, we only trim twice a year, once in the spring, once in the fall. Down south, they're trimming like 7 to 12 times. So when the production rates, the plants, everything kind of affects those. So I'm realizing that some of these production rates, I have to add some more time and change them. And other ones, they might be a little high. So then I'm actually going to reduce them. So that's why I'm doing it with my existing. So these, you definitely would want to spend some time there. If you have no data and stuff like that, definitely this is a great starting point. But you would want to verify if you have good data and just tweak them. I would not 100% rely on these because it can't be a blanket for the whole US.
Fair point. So Eric, can you walk us through how, let's say you were saying you use this for your renewals right now. What's the process you go through? Like start from, okay, you have a property, and then to the end where you have an estimate being pushed into Boss.
Okay. So are you wanting me to show one of the?
Sure.
Okay. So on this screen, this is Site Recon. This is one of our commercial properties that they measured. The detail, we always had a hard time trying to get our salesmen, especially when we get swamped. We have so many leads come in. It seems like they all come in at the same time. Trying to get a salesman to go out there and measure and get all this detail that you can do, that Site Recon can provide. It makes it so much easier. So with this Site Recon, we basically go in, create an estimate, verify the property, they measure it, and then once it comes over, we'll go through and I basically go under the service map and I go through each item. Sometimes Site Recon, they're using satellite image. So we look at this first and then we kind of just glance at it. We click off on each area just to make sure that should be a 21-inch, medium, easy, or hard. And then if not, we will change it into the right mower size. And we just verify everything was measured properly. And then
Eric, sorry to interrupt, man. How did you get this estimate to begin with?
So we would go in Site Recon. You want me to do the whole start?
No, just tell them, like, how did you got these estimates?
So like the customer would reach out or we'd request it, Site Recon would do it. So what we are actually going through right now, we're going to have the person that answers the phone actually request the estimate, basically set this up and have it done right at the phone call. So they will request this. And then when our salesman gets it and has an appointment, this will already be all set from Site Recon. So all this comes in with all the takeoffs. Everything is just very detailed. So you just confirm everything. We go on site after we get it. We bring a laptop and we make the changes actually on the property as well. Changing mower sizes, looking at it, making sure everything is verified in person. And then it comes over, it goes into an estimate from Site Recon after you make the changes. You can make changes in here as well. This, changing production rates because they all have different production rates. Everything is very detailed. We have mulch, we have spade edging, we have chemicals, we got hand weeding based on square footage. Everything is just very detailed. We even have plant health care and turf rounds 1 through 6. I don't know how many people that's using this went into the detail that we did with having chemicals and everything integrated, but we want it to make sure it's easy for our salesmen so they can pump out bids and accurate bids. So
not many, to answer your question, not many did. The level of detail that you started off with is something that most people get uncomfortable with because they're like, it's going to take forever to implement. But there's
which
an
it did.
advantage to it
But
did.
in the
But
long
there's an
run, it's going to
advantage
save us a whole bunch of time
and money.
Oh yeah.
I think a lot of people think about the delta that comes between actual and estimated hours as like a post-sale operational activity. But the first exercise actually starts during the sales process when you put these numbers together for the first time.
Yes, but if you do not have good data with existing properties, it is what I did a long time ago. I went out and you can do the same thing with these production rates that they provide you. I went in our big parking lot at our shop with lawnmowers, string trimmers, stuff like that. And I was pretending like I was cutting a parking lot, acting like it was grass, just doing production rates. I was with a stopwatch checking it. So if you don't have good data, that's a way you can do it. You can go to one of your properties, have someone stopwatch. But I was going a lot faster than 90% of our employees because I'm a business owner. I realized that my production rates, I had to have other people do it because I was running behind the machines, string trimmer, everything. I was a very fast pace compared to everyone else. So keep that in mind.
100%. And so once you do this, by the way, when you take it out to the property, how long do you schedule for a visit like this?
So it varies on property. So there's some of these properties that we're only there 15 minutes because your team did an excellent job putting the right mower sizes and stuff. It's very rare that we have to change something. You realize that you guys can't see, and you can't see everything from satellite image. So
Yeah.
once you go there, just doing some verifying and make the changes there. Bigger properties, we could be there an hour, but it used to take us a full day to go through and get all this. And it was not even this accurate, this detailed, because trying to measure odd shapes and stuff, you're just doing quick, easy measurements, and they're not really 100% accurate compared to this.
Makes sense.
And the one thing I want to touch on too is now having these maps available and color coded and whatever. So beginning of the season, we plan on running through all of these bigger commercial properties with our foreman and showing them, hey, this is the area that it's going to help in training our crews as well and being more efficient. So like, they know which areas need which mower. They're not going to be scrambling and figuring out. And in our software that we use, they use tablets, and they will have availability to look at this map every time they're on site too. So if there's ever like someone's on vacation and we've got another foreman filling in, this map will be available for them to view each week or each visit or whenever they're there. So that's another thing that is an added bonus.
It's a great point. I mean, usually that map would have like just turf and beds and so on. But now that you've got that broken down deck size into it, then it becomes closer to what a job plan would look like for these guys.
Oh, exactly.
Yeah.
And we can screenshot this and we can attach it for a site plan for the guys. We can make notes on it, and it's going to take it's going to simplify everything for our crews too. So they will know exactly property lines, what mower sizes, everything.
Got you. High level, what's the integration process with Boss? Like, so you have this, you verified it in the field. What happens next?
So basically with Boss, so everything, all these takeoffs, you're going to want to make all the changes in the estimation under site recon. You're going to make all the easy, medium, hard, stuff like that, because all these numbers based on this that you make in site recon will sync over. So all I have to do is click a button. All the takeoffs will go into Boss, and then it's sunk into all the takeoffs, what they call it. And then when you're creating an estimate, your service items will actually be linked to those takeoffs. So your estimates, it pulls in all the data. So once you have everything measured like this, I can create an estimate in Boss that converts into a work order within 5 minutes. There's nothing else I have to do. Once you make the changes, everything syncs over seamlessly.
Sweet.
And I could show everyone that, but I think people that aren't using Boss, it's going to confuse them. So
makes sense. And then that integration piece, Lisa, did that make your life easier, assuming you were sort of handling that piece earlier?
Yeah, because then your data's right. Because obviously, if you're having to hand key in all these takeoffs, there's room for error. So when you're doing all the adjustments and everything in site recon, and you know that you've double checked them, and then they go into Boss, it's like you're not going to send a contract that you accidentally underpriced yourself, or where you're gonna. So definitely the room for error is a big plus.
Makes sense.
Not having, if something gets keyed in wrong.
Yeah. While on that subject, there are a couple of questions I want to take here. If you're using a different business management software and don't have an integration such as with Boss, is SiteRecon just another measuring tool? Is there a way to bridge that gap? Actually, OpenAI came up with something called the operator yesterday, which is the coming of agents. And give it 3-4 months, and agents will basically kill all integration problems that this industry has right now. So this popular question that goes around in conferences and on these webinars, does your tool integrate with X? It doesn't matter, guys. Like, give it 4 or 5 months, this problem is dead. So kudos to OpenAI. Another question here, a weekly service includes what services? So guys, like mowing, regular stuff, right? Like, so mowing, trimming, edging, blowing, stuff that your mow blow crew would do, mow blow go crew would do, right, Eric? Anything to add there?
yeah, so our guys, we're basically, our mow crew will also do the hand weeding, spot spraying, all the smaller ticket items with the mow crew. We're still sending out an enhancement crew to do the mulching, shrub trimming, the bigger ticket items. But we like trying to have the same crew do a whole bunch of the smaller things with the lawn mowing if there's little hours and it's not going to overbook them for the day.
Got you. Another question here related to Boss. Are the maps created available to link into Boss to the properties? Do they reflect any changes made live on the maps? That's one question. The other question is it possible to create our own maps and measure special items such as snow areas? Would you guys like to take that?
So
Okay.
you got it, Lisa.
Okay. So I would say, as far as the live maps, if you're updating them, you would have to update your attachments in Boss to see so that's not like a live thing, but I mean, it's easy to do. You just can link a photo to the contract, and then anytime that contract there's a ticket for that contract, then they can see any photos that are made available to them. And then what was the other part of the question?
The other question was, hang on, I'll open that again. Possible to create your own maps and measure special items such as snow areas.
Yes.
That's Eric needs it.
Yeah. So to do snow areas and stuff like that, this actually has all the measurements for the sidewalks and stuff as well. So let me find, there's so many takeoffs on this property.
So if you scroll down, right, all the way down, you would have sidewalks and lots. Yeah. Scroll up a little bit.
All right.
There you go.
So yeah, I mean, there's the square foot for parking lots. So if you click on that, it's going to show that. So you can basically screenshot this and attach, and you can edit this if you want it to and say, hey, this is a parking lot area. And then you can overlay and put notes in there saying, watch out for this curb, watch out for the drain, or doing all that stuff right here without measuring. And then sidewalks, you click on that, it shows all the sidewalks. So I know Site Recon at the very beginning, we were using the original platform and we were manually measuring. I don't like manually measuring. I'd rather have Site Recon do it. It makes it so much easier. I don't have time anymore to basically go through and do all these measurements. I'd rather pay a little extra and have Site Recon do all the measurements for me, and then we just take it from there.
And then the one thing I did want to add, and I think I might be correct on this, but you can have several different estimation views. So you could rename a view and just call it like snow estimation view, or, if you wanted to, and you could so you can have several different estimation views as well. And I believe those views can go into Boss too. Like you can have
Yes,
more than
they
one view
can.
in Boss. So that's nice too. So if, you wanted to have a snow view or like green season side and a snow side, then that's an option.
Yeah, and we require all our guys to take before and after pictures because our software, and it links to our software. So if they see that there's an issue, they'll snap a picture and do a field note and we'll know right away.
Different question, guys. Do you feel more in control or less in control after you've implemented this?
Oh, I feel more in control. I feel like our estimates are going to be much more accurate. We're eliminating guesstimate. I mean, we were guesstimating because the old way, I mean, when you only have one production rate for each mower, you're tweaking everything. So if you don't have experience, it's harder to find an estimator that has that experience to be able to just look at something and say, hey, this is going to take this many hours. This takes the guesswork out.
Yeah. I mean, that's one of the objections we have received from people. Like they like to do it themselves. And that's sort of the way you get control. But then there's the other side to it, which you just described. So
yeah,
makes
and
a lot
if they
of
like
sense.
to do it themselves, I mean, you guys allow that,
Yeah.
so they can do it. But I don't see why, because you can basically edit every one of basically yours that you guys measure. So why would you want to do it yourself?
True. I mean, accuracy becomes a thing, but you sort of walked us through it. You have to review it after you receive it. So it's not like gospel or truth. You have to go to the property. You have to make sure you got all the operational details right.
Correct. Yeah. You're not going to just take it and go with what you guys are seeing from satellite image without walking the property, because you guys can't get everything.
Yep, 100%. Couple more questions here. Is there a live link into Boss to these maps similar to the site photos integration? I don't think we send over a live link yet. What goes over is snapshots. And so that's you're using right now measurements that go over through the API, right? That's the main thing you're sending over into takeoffs. Got you.
Yeah, but you can click it like once you're in Boss and you're in, like if there's any Boss users, when you're in your takeoff section under the property, that's where it shows your detailed view and your estimation view, and you can view the maps. But I think when you click on the link, it just links you to Site Recon site and then opens it through there.
Yeah, and for all Boss users, you guys at the end, I don't know, you Karsh, if you want to share our email and our contact information, and I can do a Zoom and show how a property syncs over into Boss. But I'm guessing there's probably a small percent that's using Boss. So the people that aren't, it would just totally confuse everyone. So for all the Boss users, feel free to reach out and we can set up a Zoom and show you how it works.
Yes, sir. We'll share your emails in a bit. Aman, please take care of that. Thanks, man. All right. So more integration questions. Yes, I mean, the integration problem is not that important, guys. Does it offer any benefit working with Aspire? Yeah, I mean, like what Aspire has natively available to measure, this one goes into way more detail than that. And like Eric said, that gives you control over your margins, over your prices, over what's being bid when you're going through your sales process. So there's definitely advantages of using this over what Aspire has, and having that sync over into something like Boss. Ivan has a question on using SiteRecon maps to create maps for turf programs. Turf programs, yes. Irrigation, yes, you can do that. Totally possible. Does SiteRecon have AI that calculates square feet of mowing areas and mulch areas? Yes, sir. Or do you have to calculate square feet manually? No, you don't have to calculate square feet manually. That gets taken care of. I think we've got these questions. All right, sweet. Any chance you can import GoIlon maps into SiteRecon? No. The only way to do that is place those orders again. And that might be worth it because you will just end up with better data when you measure it through our system. All right, so going back into the flow of things that we had planned for the presentation, Eric, I want to ask you some questions on the return on investment that you got from, taking this up. So how do you think about ROI, high level?
High level, time savings. So the amount of savings we are getting, I can basically reduce time spent creating estimates, smaller sales team with faster turnaround time. So that saves a lot of money right there. Accuracy, basically eliminating more jobs, are closing more jobs, generating more revenue with profitable jobs, happier employees and customers, because we pay commission on profitable jobs. So any jobs that are over 50% gross profit margin, we pay commission. So that one salesman now can sell a whole bunch more, and there's not jobs that he's losing on anymore. So he's not selling jobs that are below 50% gross profit margin. So he's getting more commission. Customers are happier because we're not cutting corners because they underestimate it, the property. So our properties are looking better. And all that equals closing more jobs, generating more revenue with profitable jobs, happier everyone, office staff, everything. It's great.
Excellent. Eric, can you let me share my screen? I want to ask you
Yes.
a couple of specifics on that ROI piece. Okay, thank you. So I'll just get over this. Can you see my screen? Not yet?
Okay.
Nope. Do you see it now?
Yep.
Awesome. So high level makes sense. Some of the pieces that you talked about as you were explaining how you got this solution to set up, I want to talk to you about those pieces to the system one by one, the benefits of having gotten them almost like off the shelf. So you got production rates, of course you have to modify them, but if you had to put some value on like having production rates on the commercial side of things, how would you value that? You got this benchmark off the shelf. What dollar value would you like to throw at it?
Oh, shoot. Production rates. I've been doing this for over 25 years, trying to come up with a good starting point. I would say it's every bit of $100,000 if I had to guess, because trying to come up with a good way where a good starting point and having a good start is very hard. I bounce back and forth through 25 plus years, constantly changing stuff. This would have kept me, if I had this data and this information back at the beginning, it would have saved me so much time, and Lisa would have been happier because I would not have changed stuff probably a million times.
Lisa,
So
you agree?
that value is just
Yeah.
great.
I mean, keeping up with, obviously you have to change things as, time evolves, but, then you can spend more time working on other sections of your business that, wouldn't, you'd want to work on every year, where this is something that you don't really have to do anymore.
Got you. By the way, this is a number that I just threw on the slide because I was like, if there is a guy who's doing this constantly, stop watching folks in the field and trying to come up with all these production rates, trying to get an average right, they would end up spending like 6 to 9 months just getting that nailed down. And so I just threw that number in there. But obviously, Eric, if you're doing that, your time is way more valuable as a business owner.
Yeah, and the problem is if you have someone that does not really care as much as the owner. They're just going to say that, they're not going to take it to the next level. It's just going to be very simple. Oh, we did 100 square foot an hour or whatever it is. They're not going to have different scenarios. They'll just do it once and think that that works across the board for one employee. It does not. You need to average a whole bunch.
Makes sense. And then second piece being these estimates that you just place an order for and you get those estimates back. How would you value that? Like, we've done some valuation here where we are thinking like a business developer paid $100,000 a year, including commissions and everything, is spending like 6 weeks in the year totally on estimating. And then what would be the money lost in opportunity and the money spent doing that estimate?
I think you're saving way more than what you're showing right here, because I think now one salesman can probably do what 2 to 3 people could do. It's huge. I mean, we were spending days just measuring properties. So, and now that everything syncs over, it's quick and easy. All we're doing is spending 15 to an hour on a property, just making changes, everything. Then they come back in the office, everything sinks in and goes right into the bid, and then we pump it out.
I see. So from your standpoint, because you were so particular about getting those numbers right, the amount of time that gets invested also goes up. And so you're trying to sort of match that level of detail and accuracy in any system that you set up, which is why you had to spend all that time in the field before this came out.
Correct. So
understood. Okay. And then we also worked, your onboarding was very different. Like we were on it. We actually did site visits. I was in the shop with you. Very different than what we have actually set up generally for our customers right now. But talk to us about the onboarding experience.
Oh, the onboarding it took a lot of time, because I think Fred and Yukarsh, I think we kind of all got together. I mentioned it to Fred, and then next thing you know, Yukarsh said, "Hey, we're going to create this and make it work." So, we were heavily involved with coming up with a lot of the stuff that's put into this, going back and forth. I think we were kind of the guinea pigs getting it all set up. So our setup was exhausting. It took a lot longer. We were going back and forth, but then once we got it, we also were doing the same thing with Boss to make it sync. So I think we were kind of the guinea pigs there as well, because no one else was doing it. So we had to we were going back and forth. We had to do double the production rates. Even though they were the same, but the import from Boss and Site Recon were 2 totally different. So we had to, put in your Site Recon's format, and then Boss, for setting up all our new services and service items, had to put in theirs, and then being able to have the takeoffs sync over. If there was one space that was different or anything, they would show an error. So to just verify everything, it was exhausting. But I think now for anyone else, it's going to be much easier than what we had to deal with.
Yeah, it was
Lisa?
it was very rewarding once, like, to see like all the effort and all the, you've just put a lot of thinking into this. And so now that it's done, and it's just, I'm really excited for us to start with the green season, because then, like, even throughout the season, you can check in and be like, well, why is this property looking, why are our reporting looking for this property? And so we can compare, and then we can dig a little bit deeper and find out, well, why is this one part taking longer? So it's just there's just so many other opportunities within our business that this is going to help with. So it was very rewarding, I would say.
Yeah, out of everything that we've ever done with we try just about anything and everything. I want to learn about the tracking suit that you were talking about, where it's got a vest for tracking, where we're constantly trying to stay up with the times, because if you don't, you're going to fall behind. So I'm tired. I do not like sending estimates that I am not 100% sure that they're accurate because I hate losing money. So that's why we're doing a whole bunch of verifying with our existing clients that we have real good data just to tweak. And everything does require a little tweaking because, like I said before, you cannot have all the production rates work for, cold climate and warm climates, different shrubs and stuff like that. But all you have to do is figure out where these production rates, let's say you're 10%, you see that it's constantly one of these services are 10% high constantly, then you just know why not just tweak everything by 10%, lower it 10%. And then other ones that you see are 40% too low, just take all your service items in that and increase it 40%. So that's why we started with our existing.
Very cool. Guys, you are trailblazers, man. You basically set the path for everyone to follow. And there's just a massive, massive contribution to the industry. Take a bow.
Ta-da.
No, really. All right. So that sort of wraps the point I had here on ROI. Obviously, Eric, you're pointing out to far more value than what we have here. 100,000. I mean, you guys basically get the gist. We've got a few more minutes to go. So if you guys want to know what this costs, you're more curious about it, you want to see how this is going to look for your business, we are happy to schedule a demo with you all. If you're interested, just say yes to the poll question that's going to come up in front of you. Guys from our team will reach out. And yeah, basically, we will go over a few things with you, what the implementation plan is going to look like for you. Guided product tour, we'll do a couple of estimates for you on the house. And then any other guys who you want to sort of involve in this discussion, bring them on. And yeah, you can get started for $500 a month and an onboarding fee. That out of the way, Eric, Lisa, I've got a couple of questions for you still here. Assuming that you are in a competitive bidding situation, what would you say is your capture rate in terms of the percentage of projects captured out of the total number of bids tendered to clients?
So right now we're probably at 35% on all the bids that we close. But now for commercial, we are going to, when we fine tune these, we're going, because I think we were overpricing ourselves. So now we have good data, so we know our exact numbers because we did verify and tweak some of these production rates based off our existing customers and data that we already had. So I think our closing ratio is going to go up quite a bit. We literally just started doing our existing and checking and verifying before we actually really jump in on brand new. So we'll see a big difference here shortly.
Yeah, for sure.
Sweet. Got some questions here in chat. These are already answered. Okay. How many commercial property measurements are included in the $500 a month? Is there a limit of properties or acres? No, there's no limit to properties or acres. Oh yeah, I mean, so you do get some credits. You get 200 credits for the subscription, and then you can use those credits as you place these orders. Depending on how big that property is, you could be consuming, $30, $40, or as high as $150, $200 if it's like a really large property. So it would depend on what you are estimating and the size of the property. We can get into more specifics. 200 credits per month. Yes, sir.
And then I saw someone mention about residential. Yes, you can use this for residential. I just haven't used it for residential yet because I have been concentrating more on the commercial. So sorry for taking over.
We basically go through the same process of updating our service items and doing all that, but that's our next step.
Our commercial, our residential, we're more dialed in. So that's our next thing after we figure out the commercial.
Sweet. This is also answered. Capacity sequences. This has been answered. Oh, in your experience, how accurate is the measurement and the estimate you're getting from it?
Oh, our experience, these measurements are, they're right on. We can't get better measurements manually doing it. There's more flaws, measuring wheels. I'm sure everyone in here has used measuring wheels. You start walking and then realize that the measuring wheel's not even counting. So yes, and measuring odd shapes and stuff like that, you can't, I mean, coming up with weird shapes and getting accurate square footage, you're not going to get any better than this.
Yeah,
Oh,
and you can
difficult
have
question.
your square
Go on.
footage, linear feet. You can, yeah, however you, whatever you need.
Hard one coming from Jamie. He's saying, with all these takeoffs, do you actually have your crews clock into each takeoff item to audit them when reviewing?
No.
No. So basically, if you're looking, our mowing has a whole bunch. It's got the string trimming, mower sizes, and all that stuff. It's all grouped as just one mowing ticket. So
Broken down into detail, but once it gets into a ticket, there's some sort of combination that's happening to create a package.
Right.
correct. Yep. And any boss user, I mean, feel free. It'll make a lot more sense. I can show you how everything works. We can do a Zoom and you can kind of see the entire process. And I guarantee you guys will definitely sign up and use this. For everyone that uses anything but boss, good luck.
Yeah, I mean, a few more months to go.
Yeah.
Maybe. Yeah. This agent thing is like really exciting. It's going to solve those integration issues. I had a few questions come up for other business management softwares too. So, I mean, the answer is yes, but that would have been ideal state of things, right? The system sort of integrating with other tools natively, but here we are.
And I'm guessing Aspire, since they have their own their AI measuring,
Yeah.
they're probably never going to let you integrate. Is that pretty true?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. That's absolutely true. Although they should, because you do a better job of it. But that's just life. But now with these OpenAI developments, we can actually get into it, even if they do not want to do it through a direct API connection. So we're really excited for that. Anywho, so a few minutes over, guys. Any question you have, please send them over to Eric and Lisa. Eric and Lisa shared their email here in chat. Feel free to reach out to them. Otherwise, reach out to us. We're going to send you a recording of the webinar. Drop in your replies if you want us to do like a follow-up call, organize that with Eric and Lisa. Happy to do that. The link to book a demo with us, for those of you who said yes to the poll, we'll reach out to you, schedule that call. Eric, Lisa, thank you so much for taking the time out and sharing your story here with us. Any parting thoughts for everyone who's still here?
Yeah. And I don't know, I did not share my information unless someone else did on the chat, but if you want to email everyone on this, I'm fine with it. I'm not going to say I'm going to respond instantly, but I will get back to you.
Yeah. Just glad that everybody took the time to do this, because it really is. I explain it as like, this is going to be a game changer for us for sure. And I'm excited to see what the next few months, when to really get into our season, how much it's going to impact everything. So yeah, we're really excited. So thanks again for listening.
Very cool, guys.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone. Thanks for taking the time out. See you all. Bye.